Coming to paperback and e-readers this April, Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. The goddess next door must take on the threat of a deadly digital diva driven to destroy the world in this action-packed all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess in paperback and e-readers this April. I was taking a critical examination of the relaunched Static number 1 that is coming out in April. And as I was reviewing the pages that were presented in Milestone Returns 0, the ultimate version, I saw how the new origin of Static not only retcons the character, but presents us the character from a gynocentric perspective. Now, your Vita Ayala is approaching the Static character from an emotional perspective, whereas your Dwayne McDuffie was approaching Static from a logical perspective that men usually have. And when I was looking at Vita Ayala's pages for Static, they showed me how a female would see things different from the way a man would see them. Now, in Vita Ayala's origin for Static, we see Virgil going to this Black Lives Matter rally, and he's going to this Black Lives Matter rally because Frida invited him to the rally. So we're seeing that things in this origin are about things as related to being social from a female perspective rather than from the male perspective that Dwayne McDuffie originally presented in 1993's Static number 1. Because in 1993's Static number 1, Virgil Hawkins' origin was all about him being a man, and it was all about him standing up for the principles of manhood, and those things being a core foundation to his character. So when I look at Dwayne McDuffie's origin for Static, it's all related to his manhood and the type of man he wants to be. Because as he's being bullied by your Biz Money B, he's thinking about a way to stand up to this bully and find a way to be able to stand up for his principles. And that was one of the core things that was different from your Vita Ayala's origin, where she has your Virgil Hawkins out here and he's looking to get the approval of this female Frida by going over to this rally, and he runs into this hot streak guy, and this leads to a fight that starts the part of the riot that leads to the Big Bang. So she's approaching it from a very emotional perspective as related to females and being social, whereas Dwayne was approaching Static from the perspective of Virgil and what type of man he was going to grow up to be and what type of man he was going to become. Because after being bullied by your Biz Money B, aka Hot Streak, what happened was your Virgil wanted to find a way to deal with this bully once and for all, and that's when his friend hooked him up with the gun, and he came up with this plan to try to take out this Biz Money B, and he was doing that out of his anger and frustration. But as he got down to that Big Bang at Paris Island, we started to see your Virgil Hawkins start to do some critical thinking. And in those 2 pages, which show Virgil doing that critical thinking regarding his choice and that gun, those are the things that defined Virgil Hawkins as a hero and defined him as a man, because that 2 pages show what type of boy Virgil was growing up to become and what type of character he had as a boy that was leading to him growing to become the hero who would become Static. So when I look at Dwayne McDuffie's pages, they show me a boy who had the heart of a hero, the soul of a hero, and he had the core of a hero in those basic 2 pages of Static number 2. They show me that it was who Virgil was on the inside that made him a hero. But when I contrast that to Vita Ayala's Static, I see a Static who was basically made in the Big Bang based on emotion. And as the series goes on, we get your Virgil confronting Hotstreak, and he's confronting Hotstreak based on his emotions. And in that series of panels where we see Virgil confronting Hotstreak and he's shocking Hotstreak, that's coming from an emotional perspective. And it really reminded me a lot of what I wrote regarding Matilda Crowley's confrontation with Chantel Jenkins in my novel Spellbound, because in that novel, I wrote it where the Matilda Crowley character, who was also being bullied by a black girl, what happened was she got so angry that she wound up exploding in this rage and viciously and violently attacked her female bully and practically bloodied her female bully. And she did this and she did this, and she also called her an N-word. And that whole scenario led to her realizing that she needed to get control over her emotions. But that was because she was a female, and coming from a female perspective, she was seeing things from her feelings regarding this bullying. And that's what I saw in Vita Ayala's Static. I saw her approaching Virgil's bullying from the female perspective, Virgil acting emotionally, not critically thinking and approaching it from a logical perspective, like Dwayne McDuffie was presenting. Because in Dwayne's version, we see Static becoming a critical thinker and using logic and reason to solve his problems, and we see him trying to work his problems out by using that logic and reason he learned from his father, and we see him learning how to problem solve. So when I look at Dwayne's version of Static, we see his story from that male perspective, but in this relaunched Milestone version, I'm seeing a lot of Virgil coming from that female perspective, because when I looked at that confrontation between Virgil and your Hotstreak, again, it took me back to my novel Spellbound and the chapter where Matilda Crowley calls Chantel an N-word after she bullies her and takes her Fangoria magazine, and then they have this fight, and she realizes that she is starting to become dark and twisted because she used that word against another black person. So when I look at that scene, it really, again, that scene in Static reminds me so much of Spellbound, and it shows me that they're really coming at Virgil from a female perspective, and they're not really understanding there is a big difference between the way you write a black man and the way you write a black woman. And the way they're coming at Static, they're coming at him again from an emotional approach, not the critical thinking, logical approach that Dwayne came from. And when I look at many of the other panels in this version of Static, I don't really see him approaching things the way Static used to. I mean, Virgil was always focused on science. He was always focused on ways to use science with his powers. And I'm seeing more of Virgil focusing on things as related to being social and being the cool guy, which is something females usually go for, versus him trying to learn how to be this critical thinker and problem solver that Dwayne McDuffie was creating in the Static comic and the Static Shock series. Yes, your Virgil was really into Frida for a while. He had a crush on her. But after he started to grow out of his simp phase, he started to focus on looking to become a better student, and he was looking to become a better hero and learning different skills on how to use his powers and learning how to invent different tools like he did in the Static Shock show with Richie. They was working on different ways on becoming a better hero. So I'm not really seeing that in this couple of pages of the first issue of Static, and that was one of the reasons why this book did not leave a good first impression on me, because they really did not really understand how bullying is different for boys than it is for girls, And as somebody who has been bullied and somebody who know girls who had been bullied, I know that there's a major difference between the way boys are bullied and the way girls are bullied. And when I look at the way they were presenting Static's bullying, it was presented from a female perspective. And when I look at the way they're approaching the Static character, they're really putting in subtle ways to effeminize the character. I mean, when they took off his trademark locks, which was a strong masculine natural hairstyle, and gave him the man bun and the braids, I started to really cringe because Virgil's locks were, again, a trademark part of his character. They were a part of his iconic Static Shock look, and they were a part of his iconic look in the Static comic. But then he goes from this natural hairstyle to these braids and this man bun. And again, that's a subtle way of effeminizing the character and stripping him of his masculinity. Because when I look at again, a guy with his locks, that's something that signifies his manhood, that signifies his masculinity, and shows that he has a lot of pride in being a black man and has pride in having the natural hair that styles that come from the motherland. So they're really, as I look at this new approach to Static, they are subtly effeminizing the character, and they're really making him more of a beta than he was in the original series, because in the original series he was a boy growing into manhood, and he was learning about being more of a man and learning manhood and masculinity from different men. He was learning not only from his father, but he was learning from interacting with other heroes like Hardware and Icon, and he was also learning from other men that he was dealing with in different situations. So there was a lot there as related to the character's substance that I believe is being missed in this relaunch. And when I look at the approaches that they're using for the Static character in this new series, I see how this woman just really does not understand many of the subtle nuances of writing a man, and she doesn't really understand the principles of what make a man a hero. Now, as somebody, again, who has written both male and female characters, I understand the dynamics of male and female are different, and the approaches you have to use to writing male and female characters is very different. You cannot write them the same way because a man approaches things from a logical perspective, whereas a female approaches things from an emotional perspective. And when I'm writing men, I try to use a logical approach to their character development. And when I'm writing females, I try to approach it from the emotional perspective that many females come from, because many females, they are feeling about a situation, and they don't really think critically that much about it, but I have to make it where it fits into the logic of the story, and that is a bit of a challenge, but I'm able to do it because, again, I understand the psychology of a character, and that's not something I'm seeing in Vita Ayala's Static Shock relaunch. And this retcon, again, is showing me how she's coming at the story from a very gynocentric perspective and not the perspective of a boy who has grown up and is growing into manhood. Now, if you want to learn more about the Matilda Crowley character and how she was bullied, you can pick up the novel Spellbound on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find it on Smashwords, the iBookstore, Barnes & Noble, and Google Play. And if you want to try some of my books featuring black heroes and black heroines, like the Isis series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And if you want to see me make more videos about comics, fantasy, and science fiction, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App, and that enables me to continue making more videos and pay comic artists to put book covers on my action-packed African-American fantasy fiction. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, Isis, All That Glitters. The goddess next door takes on a bikini-clad bank robber in this action-packed, all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, All That Glitters in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.